Hey everybody, what's up? It's Nate, Coach Nate from Rocky's Fitness. So I have my wife Laura here.
Hey guys.
So as you know, I like to work out, ride bikes, run, exercise, all that kind of stuff. Laura also likes to do those things. One thing that she has on me is that she also likes to cook. I like to eat. So we have a very good symbiotic relationship as far as that goes. So today what we're going to do is Laura's going to show me how to make a Buddha bowl. This could be super messy. We're hoping not.
I mean, it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be. But she's going to explain to you what you're going to need for the Buddha bowl.
Okay, so we're all in quarantine. We haven't gone grocery shopping in probably a week and a half. So I'm just going to use what we have in the house. I don't have any lettuce or anything. So for the base, I'm going to use some spinach that I'll leave raw. And then for some of the toppings, we're gonna do a half a head of red cabbage, and I'm gonna massage it with some apple cider vinegar and a little bit of salt, and that'll soften it. And then I'm also gonna do a sweet potato roasted, and then we have some chickpeas. I'm gonna season them and roast them as well. And then in my trusty rice cooker, I have some black rice going, and we'll toss that on there as our grain. And we'll make a quick little dressing. I'm going to use some tahini, some fresh lemon, some fresh ginger, and then I have a few spices out, but I'll just talk through those when we get there.
And just in case you didn't catch any of that, we'll leave it down in the description below. We'll have the whole recipe so that everybody can actually make a list and figure it out.
Yeah.
All right. So We're going to get started. Follow along. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments and later we will answer them.
For the roasting, since it's just the two of us eating, I'm gonna use our toaster oven and not bother wasting all the gas on heating up the whole oven. That's kind of my go-to cooking tool. So Nate, I'm gonna have you start on the cabbage. We wanna start on that first so that it can be nice and tender by the time we put the bowl together. For red cabbage, you're gonna want to peel the outer leaves off. Usually it's just two of them. Give it a good rinse, and I'm gonna have you cut the bottom off. You're gonna cut about 1 inch in. You don't want any of that nasty nubby. It just is too tough.
Awesome.
We'll deal with it.
Okay.
Then you're gonna go flat side down, and then you'll give it another cut. We'll use half of it, and then we'll just store the rest for another day. This really deep, nubby vein running through it. It's really tough, and for what we're gonna do with the cabbage, we don't wanna keep it. So my little trick is you're gonna cut a triangle, one way that way, one way that way, if you can. And then, don't do this at home, kids. You're just gonna slide the knife across those cuts you made. You give it a good pull, it'll come right out. And then that we're just gonna discard. Nate, I'm gonna have you cut it in half again. I want to do really fine slices on this because you don't want it to be super crunchy.
Good?
Well, this is what we were going for. It's alright. There's no coming back from that.
There's no coming
back. It's alright. It's just gonna go all up in here and it'll be fine. To soften your cabbage, you are gonna use an acid, and you can really use anything acidic if you have white vinegar at home. I prefer to use the raw apple cider vinegar. I like the taste, and it also has other health benefits. A good amount of salt on this. So I would say you're probably gonna put about 1 tablespoon of salt. I like to use pink Himalayan salt. You can use kosher salt. So if you did cut a little bit too thick like Nate did here, what you can do is take that chunk out and then just give it another kind of run through on the opposite direction, and then just toss that back in there. So you're just gonna really work this, coat it really well. So Nate, if you wanna get in here, really get in there, and just give it like a squeeze. Cabbage is really watery, and the salt is gonna draw some of that out, which in turn makes it a little bit softer. And while Nate's doing that, I'm gonna preheat our toaster oven. Since we are roasting items today, I'm gonna put it at about 375, 400. You guys know your ovens better than I would, duh. So do whatever you feel like is right for you. How's that going, Nate?
Alright, good. How long do I do this for?
You do it for a while. You want to make sure it's all coated in the vinegar and maybe getting a little bit softer.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if you have bigger hands, you need a bigger bowl.
Yeah. It's definitely getting softer.
Cool. And once you feel like everything's coated pretty evenly, you can just put that aside. We're done with that. Sweet potatoes, pretty basic. We're gonna cut the ends off. And we'll discard those. Nice little cubes. What we'll do is cut it in half, and then I'm gonna stand it upright and I'm gonna cut that into thirds. And try to get pretty even on cutting it into the thirds. And then you'll take that and flat side down. Depending on how wide your sweet potato is, you'll do either like sets of 3 or 4. This one's pretty narrow, so I'm gonna do 3s. And then I make them about probably 1/4 of an inch cuts. So they're like, you know, a decent sized chunk. And then that's just gonna go onto a cookie sheet that I lined with parchment paper. And then Nate, if you wanna go ahead and do that to the rest of those.
So it's like.
So it's in thirds. And you don't have to be perfect. I mean, we're not.
And then like this?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Well,
And you do want to make sure you're staying pretty consistent on those cuts. The only reason is because the smaller pieces will roast faster, so you'll have maybe a more mushy or even a burnt piece compared to the other ones that are a little bit thicker. So I'm gonna season the sweet potatoes with a little bit of olive oil, probably like 1 teaspoon to 2 teaspoons of olive oil. And then I usually use whole coriander seeds, but I don't have any. I have ground coriander, so I'm just gonna use a little bit of that. Probably about 1 teaspoon to 2 teaspoons again. A good amount of salt, probably another like teaspoon on there. I like to use my hands when I cook, so you can do all hands on deck, or if you want, you can use a spoon, and you're just gonna toss them around so they're all kind of evenly coated. I would also add black pepper, but we did run out of black pepper, so I don't have any. So we're just gonna skip that. Get them evenly dispersed on the sheet, and then this is gonna go into the toaster oven, if you're using a toaster oven or the oven, for probably, I'd say, about 15 to 20 minutes until they're kind of soft. And then Nate, if you wanna get the can opener and open up the chickpeas, don't open it all the way, leave about 1/4 of an inch. Perfect. That way we can rinse them in the can, and then you don't have to make another dish. And you're gonna dump the liquid out, pop it open, and then you're just gonna put in some nice cool tap water, give it a good, put the lid back down, give it a good shake. I'll probably do this about 4 or 5 times. Then in a small mixing bowl, you're gonna dump these guys in. And then Nate, I'm gonna have you season them. With roasted chickpeas, you can really use any seasonings you like. If you like spicy foods, go ahead and put a lot of cayenne in there. You can use chipotle, you can put a little bit of lime in. Today, I feel like doing a little bit of garlic powder. So I'm gonna do about 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. I like a little bit of sweet paprika on mine. I'm gonna do another little teaspoon. Cumin, so another little teaspoon of that. And then I'm gonna do a little bit of cayenne on there, not a teaspoon. You'll regret that. So just a little dash. And then you're gonna do maybe 1 teaspoon of olive oil, not a lot because they are wet, so they don't really need that much help getting things to stick to them. So I'm just gonna toss them in the bowl. Try to get them all evenly coated. These I'm not going to add salt to. They really don't need it, especially if you're putting it on a dish where you're also salting some of the other items. I tend to save the salting for the items that really, really need it. And these are something that just doesn't. The sweet potatoes are done in about 10-15 minutes. I'm gonna push them aside in the sheet pan, and I'm gonna add the chickpeas, and I'm still gonna continue to roast the sweet potatoes probably for another 10 minutes with the chickpeas. We're gonna do a pretty easy tahini sauce. I usually love having sauce just ready on deck in my fridge. I find it super helpful. So this is one of my go-to sauces that I just always have available. And instead of doing it in a mixing bowl, I do it in a mason jar, so you can just shake it and then it's easy to store it. So Nate, if you want to help me with this, we are gonna put about a 1/4 cup of tahini into this jar. So if you want to measure that out, if you want to put that in there, perfect. And then we're also gonna put a 1/2 inch of fresh ginger in it. The easiest way to peel your ginger is to use a spoon. So you're just gonna take a small teaspoon and you're just gonna scrape down the sides. Don't scrape too hard because then you're actually gonna start scraping into the ginger itself. You really just want to get the skin off. And one of my favorite tricks for ginger, if I'm not going to be like actually cooking with it, is to press it with a garlic press. And so that's what we're going to do here. It helps juice it, and then the garlic press keeps some of the fiber so that that's not getting into your food. Otherwise, it's just really fibrous. It's actually not a lot of people really enjoy that part of the ginger. So we're gonna use our garlic press. I have a really old one. We're just gonna give it a good press in there. I'm gonna scrape it on the sides. Awesome. The juice of half a lemon, half a fresh lemon. What I do is I give it a nice little roll. That'll open up some of the juice in it. Cut it in half. For something like this, if I'm just gonna do half a lemon, I'm not gonna bother getting my juicer out. I'm just gonna cup my fingers in case there's any seeds, and they'll just rest into my hand. And then if I don't see any seeds, I just go ahead and I scrape down that side of whatever I'm putting it in just to get that last little bit out. Nate, if you want to put a 1/4 cup of just fresh water in it. I don't usually use tap, I use whatever we drink out of, whatever drinking water we have. And then the spices we're gonna do a little bit of cumin in it, and then a good amount of salt. Awesome. And then if you want to do a couple cranks of salt in there.
Is that good?
Yeah, so it's probably about a teaspoon of salt, and then another teaspoon of cumin. And then make sure you secure the lid on, and then just give it a really good shake to combine. And if it ends up being a little bit too liquidy, like your lemon had more juice than ours, feel free to just put a little bit more tahini in it, and then you can up the salt. Oh, this looks perfect. You want it like the consistency of like a Caesar salad dressing. If you want, you can throw some garlic in. We don't have any, but that would also complement it pretty well. And so then your sauce is done. That can get put aside with the cabbage. Check on the sweet potatoes. You want them to be fork tender, so if you can slip a fork through it, then you're totally good to go. And these are looking pretty golden brown. The fork is going in pretty easily. So now I still want a little bit more color on them, but I also want to get started on our chickpeas. That way everything's done at the same time. So I'm going to push them off to the side. And then just make sure they're spread out pretty evenly. And these take about 15 minutes. If you really want crispy, you just keep going until they're as crispy as you really want them to be. It's really up to you. Whatever your preferences are, these foods are pretty easy to have become whatever you want them to be. So our chickpeas and sweet potatoes are all set. Now we can begin assembling our bowls. So Nate, if you want to do like a pretty decent handful of the spinach in the bottom. Awesome. Cool. And then we'll do a little bit of the cabbage, a good sized handful of that too. I always like to make these look pretty. I don't know.
Because you eat with your eyes?
Because you eat with your eyes. And then we'll do a little bit of the black rice, or you guys, whatever grain you had. Like if you made quinoa last night, put the quinoa in there. If you have some other rice left over from whenever, you can go ahead and use that. I put about, I'd say like a half a cup of grain on here. I give myself a little bit smaller portion. And then we'll put the sweet potatoes in there. Usually about like half a sweet potato each serving. Nate went on a longer run than I did today, so we're gonna give him a little bit more. The chickpeas. Find them a little spot. Ooh, this is looking good, Nate.
Yeah, you did good.
Looking good.
Nice.
I like adding pumpkin seeds to our dishes, or if you really like walnuts and you want to throw some walnuts on here, that's a good thing to add in addition. So I'll put a little serving of that on here. And the dog really wants some too. Give your dressing one more good shake. And then I would divide it evenly between the two. And then my favorite is Maldon finishing salt. Really nice, flaky, gives a nice little crunch, another salt pop to your dish. And that's it, guys. Super easy. It took us maybe 20 minutes to get this put together. And then you could use anything you have in your house. Whatever greens you had, use that as the base. Whatever vegetable you had, if you only had regular potatoes, it's really versatile. It's whatever you want it to be. Cool.
Thanks, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I think we got more food videos coming out, not just from us, but also I think Lisa's going to do some. Rocky will probably do something. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Tune back in. I'm sure we have classes either tomorrow or whenever. But yeah, have a good night.
Hope you guys enjoy.